Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Omari the Blessing and I'm so delighted to be having today's topic with you. So please don't go nowhere. It's going to be such a good time just learning about something interesting, something as interesting as how to nurture, how to steward a very good relationship with Jesus Christ. Like, how do you grow a very good relationship with Jesus? The truth is, God wants us to know Him personally. No matter how much you try, you can't outsource your personal relationship with the Lord. It's so important. You have to know Him for yourself. Extremely, I think I've always been an advocate of this for the longest time. Like, you have to learn to steward your own personal relationship with God. It's extremely important, very important, because how do you explain the events happening in your life? How do you explain that without having that ongoing relationship with God? It makes all the difference, okay? So we're going to be diving right into it. Just before we go into it, I'd like to share two stories of my growing up days and how I sensed I needed to grow my personal relationship with the Lord. So I grew up in a Christian home. Like, my parents were always forcing us to go to church every time the doors were open. Like, you just have to be in church, especially during midweek services. So our parents would force us. It was so good, let me not say bad, it was so good that my elder brother and I will be asked to go to evening service from school with our school uniform on. My dad will force us, and obviously he will be there, and then my mom will bring my younger sister as well. Now, I remember very well that quite a number of times my siblings and I will gather my dad maybe in a sitting room or somewhere, and like, Daddy, this is unfair, like, this is unfair. Every other pastor's children will not come to church. And by the way, I'm a pastor's kid, so you understand why that was so important for my parents to drag us to church. So we'll be like, Daddy, look, Daddy, other pastors' children don't come to evening services. Why is that we are the only ones that are always going there? You know, my dad would be like, and sometimes, like I said, we often come with our uniform, like from school, because school is closer to church. Instead of going back home, my dad would be like, when you close from school, I guess 3, 4, start going to church, like, just start walking down to church. And we'll go there, and when we get there, finally, my elder brother gets to play the drum set. I get to lead the singing, because we are literally the only kids that are there. It's just adults, you know, it's a comparably small church. So my brother plays the key, my brother plays the drum, I'll lead the singing, and my younger sister will probably just back up, and my brother will also back up, and he will back up with tenor or something like that. I remember then that was what our lives were like at the time. I wasn't still a good girl. I was just a normal church girl who everybody even thought I was just a very, very good girl, but I knew my mind. I knew that I was not a good girl at all. A couple of things I was doing behind my parents that they were not aware of, you know, and everybody felt, oh, these children are just nice children. We're not at all. So what happened? Then, like I said, we always harass our parents, like, this is not fair. But my dad will not have any of what we're saying. He'll just say, you guys must just be in church. And of course, we're in church. We didn't have a choice at the time. So that continued for a very long time. But I still didn't know God. I still didn't care about Him much. I just felt, let's just do this thing. So what actually began to spur my heart towards knowing and pursuing the Lord was when I had a friend. I'm not going to call her name. So what happened was that I had this friend who, each time she talked about God, she talked about Him with such a personal touch, and I was like, I got jealous and so envious, like, what's she trying to form? You know, she'll come and be like, the Lord said to me, the Lord said to, you know, those kind of, the Lord said to me kind of people, very mushy relationship with Jesus. It's not bad at all. Depends on how you're used to relating with God. So she comes with these mushy things. So she says things like, there was one time she said, God called her baby. And I felt like, those kind of things is so not she. And I was so jealous and so envious of her. And then she'll be like, God, there was a time she then told me that God called her name, like if let's say her name is Blessing, and she said God was having a conversation with her, and God called her Blessing, like I called her name, and I felt like that was like the height, like what kind of a relationship with this? Yes, even though I was envious and jealous at the time, but it began to cause something inside of me like, man, I could also have this kind of relationship with God. Like, I could also steward, or so it began to create some sort of desire in my heart towards God. I wanted God to also call me baby. I wanted him to also call my name. So I remember those times I was trying to imagine talking to God and I'll now hear him call me baby. Oh God, I'll hear him call me baby. Those are just my imagination, my very, very overactive, imagination, trying to just replay or trying to do what she said she was doing with the Lord. So those were just my imagination, trying to just stir up things. I knew they were not real. It wasn't like what she was explaining. It was totally different. This one was really man-made, while hers seemed to be very spiritual indeed. And I remember that I started, in my own closet, I started desiring that the Lord will call me baby, that the Lord will call me blessing, that the Lord will, speak to me. I wanted to understand what it really looked like to hear his voice. So it started spurring me in that direction. And guess what? God literally used that experience to begin to draw me to himself. While I was going about desiring God in that sense, God started calling me and started trying to get me to himself. Like, I could sense it, I could see it. He started connecting me with people that loved him enough, more than I did at the time. So a number of things like coming together, a lot of events, young people's events, and I could attend and just, and I remember then I'll go for those, I would attend those events, and then I'll just pour out my heart. Sometimes I'll just cry and I'll go, I want to know you, I want to know you. And I remember that most of those forms that we feel, oh, you give your life to Jesus today, and they're like, what's your prayer request? My prayer request will always be to know you, to pursue you, to follow you. I know that was just my life at the time. It was nothing else, just to know him and just to pursue him. And like I said, the Lord is pouring my heart towards knowing him. I made all the difference, right? So in pursuing the Lord, in wanting to steward the relationship with the Lord, the very first place to start from is one, desire. So if you've been asking that question, like, Lord, I want to know you, Lord, how do I steward the relationship? And you've been asking people, you see people and you envy what they share with the Lord, and you're thinking, how can this also be me? How can I love the Lord this much? How can I steward my relationship with him? How can I know him? I want to know you. When it's like, I want to know you, that's just your prayer and that's just your desire. It's you that the Lord is calling already. That's desire stage. It's such a good stage. It's a good sign. It's obvious that the Lord, the Master God, is wooing you to himself. And that's so good to see. So that's a good place that you're in. As you have desire, you want it. It's a good place to be. The next stage is duty. In the stage of duty, what you have there is people begin to tell you what to do. They tell you, get a time where you study the Bible, get a time where you fellowship with the Lord, get a time where you read the Bible, get a time where you fellowship with other believers. That is duty, right? You're told what to do. It begins to look like a strain. It begins to look very, very, unfortunately, many people stop in duty. It makes their relationship with God so trite, so not exciting, right? But that stage of duty is supposed to, it's supposed to be a means to an end. It's not meant to be an end in itself, okay? It's supposed to be a means to delight. Because until, like they say, our attention breeds affection. The moment you begin to give attention to God, you begin to give attention to the things of God, you begin to grow affection for him. The same way, you're spending time with a guy, you're spending time with somebody that you love or you're having a crush on. The more time you spend with the person, the more you begin to have affection towards the person, right? You begin to know the person, you're intrigued by the person's behavior. That's how it works. So you begin to, like, I want to spend more time with this person. You begin to desire him more. Okay? So delight comes after duty. There are many people who are waiting to get into delight, but they're not ready to put a structure around their work with God. They're not ready to put a structure around it. It's a structure that creates room for access. Yes, The structure creates room for access. So we must put structure around our work with God that creates room for access, and then we can then begin to have, that relationship with the Lord. So it begins from desire, goes into duty, and then finally goes into delight. That's how we steward the relationship. So whatever level that you're on, please, I'd like you to leave a comment. I'd like to know what level you think you are, or I'd like to know what you're feeling at the moment, and how we can just have conversations around it in the comment section. I'll be waiting for you. If at this point in time you are yet to get subscribed on my channel, this look is for you. Like I am looking at you right now. Please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified each time we churn out our video. I'll be waiting for you in the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye bye.